You slept with 1,000 men, not 999 in 12
Are you
hours.
interested in my
Is not
body?
ironic.
Wash.
It is not satirical. It is tone deaf.
Is
I
it
couldn't
for
say
boys?
that. Sorry.
From Bonnie Blue's incredibly controversial adult film career, to Sydney Sweeney selling her own bathwater and soap, to Sabrina Carpenter's questionable new album cover choice, it seems like self-objectification is on the rise. Alongside it, people tend to push the narrative that sex work and the porn industry are tools of female empowerment. And this begs the question, what repercussions will we see in the mindsets of our women and young girls if self objectification continues to be glorified and normalized? Are people like Sabrina Carpenter and Sydney Sweeney really setting back feminism 50 years? Or are they simply leaning into the persona the public has identified them with? Are they attempting to reclaim the objectification against them? Now, granted, I'll acknowledge that the topic of Bonnie Blue is in a totally different ballpark from people like Sydney or Sabrina. Notably and most recently known for allegedly having sex with 1,000 men in the span of 12 hours, clearly her actions and the behaviors she promotes are 1,000 times more harmful than a distasteful album cover choice or a strange marketing decision. So when I discuss Sabrina Carpenter and Sydney Sweeney within the same context of Bonnie Blue, I'm not trying to compare their actions, more so the root of their actions. They're all connected through the same string of objectification under the guise of feminism, which leads me to my main point. We have been sold the lie that self objectification is a tool of female empowerment, and the people who exploit that lie often contribute to romanticizing inherently misogynistic beliefs and values. Now, before I can explain further, we have to discuss each controversy and the public's general opinion on it. Sabrina Carpenter is one of the biggest pop stars of our generation. She's been releasing music since 2012, and in 2014, she landed a role on the Disney Channel TV series Girl Meets World. And as a kid, I was the biggest fan of that overly dramatic show. And now that I'm older, I can acknowledge that a lot of the writing was questionable at best. A lot of that show felt like a fever dream because they had an episode where they proved that communism was bad, proved that God was real, and of course, they had the infamous "You're Not Autistic" episode.
They want to see if I have autism. You don't. Let's go tell them you don't.
Also, they low-key promoted a relationship between a college student and a 14-year-old.
I like you.
Dude, what is wrong with you?
She's 3 years younger than me.
Sit down. If you don't sit down, I'm going to tell every girl on campus that you belong to the bravest girl that I have ever met. Maya. He's 17 and you're 14? Yeah. That might seem like a really big age difference now, but here in college, we learn a really difficult math.
Yeah, that show was crazy. But anyways, her 2024 album Short and Sweet amassed over 352 million Spotify streams within its first week of being released. As of June 19th, Short and Sweet Deluxe has been streamed over 7 billion times. With songs like Juno and Bedchem, Sabrina is very forward, adopting a playful, flirtatious, and sexual brand. A persona that has been generally accepted and supported by her fanbase of primarily straight women. Now, the cover for her newest album, Man's Best Friend, set to release on August 29th of this year, has gotten her into a lot of hot water. The Conversation writes, quote, Carpenter poses on all fours, her glossy blonde hair grasped by a male figure cropped from the frame. Her wide-eyed expression intensifies an ambiguous performance of subservice, tapping into a visual language tied to female objectification, from classic pinup imagery to contemporary pop culture. And because it's the internet, if I shared every single opinion, we would be here for days. So I'll give a short and sweet summary of how fans and critics alike reacted. Supporters claim that the cover is satirical, partially because Sabrina is pretty well known for killing off men in her music videos. Some also theorize that the person grabbing her hair is another woman or herself dressed up as a man. Others say that the cover itself is commentary on how women are treated. It makes sense. The title of the album is Man's Best Friend, and she's posed like a dog. Many people also point out that Sabrina is a marketing genius, knowing that such a bold album cover choice would generate discourse and attention for her new album. As stated by The Vulture, quote, Sabrina Carpenter's new album cover for Man's Best Friend plays into the hypersexualized version of herself she plays as a character. Critics point out that it's degrading to women. She's being depicted on all fours with her hair being pulled. Many people believe that she's in no position to create a satirical message with her album cover, especially because her music lacks the type of radicalism to do so. She just creates pop music with no deeper meaning or hidden social commentary on how the male gaze affects women. Quote, Glasgow Women's Aid, a Scotland-based advocacy organization for women experiencing domestic abuse, slammed Carpenter in a post on Instagram, calling the album cover regressive, stating it evokes tired tropes that reduce women to pets, props, and possessions, and promotes an element of violence and control. A column in The Telegraph complained in a headline that Carpenter's oversexed, degrading new album cover has gone too far, and the writer Poppy Platt noted Carpenter has many young fans and said her marketing is troubling, comparing it to TikTok trends like the trad wife aesthetic that promote subservice to men. So don't get me wrong, this cover isn't necessarily completely out of character for her brand, especially since we've established that she does have a pretty hypersexualized persona already. However, it features a major shift in terms of male versus female gaze. Her hypersexualization was often centered around being sexual on her own terms, following the idea that she's having sex because it's what she wants. With this new cover art, it feels less like hypersexualization and more like objectification. It's beginning to lean toward the idea that she's having sex because that's what he wants from her. And this is referred to as a schema violation, which is, quote, this mismatch between expectation and perception. A schema is a mental shortcut, a template built from experience and unspoken rules that helps us make sense of the world and predict what to expect. When something breaks that pattern, it's called a schema violation. Carpenter's brand is cheeky, self-aware irony, so when she adopts a pose steeped in submission and hyperfemininity as this album image, it feels off. As stated in an Instagram post by Exodus Cry, quote, some of these same voices, by the people who are outraged by the cover, are those celebrating and defending OnlyFans and the porn industry as tools of female empowerment, ignoring the reality that most mainstream porn fetishizes violence, abuse, humiliation, and male domination over women. And actually, as I was finishing up the script for this video, Sabrina posted on Instagram on Wednesday, June 25th, quote, here is a new alternate cover approved by God. And honestly, that is the most Sabrina-esque response you could possibly get. She knows the controversy her cover has created, and instead of staying silent about it, quietly removing the image entirely, or issuing out some sort of apology like other artists may do, she instead leans into her dry, ironic humor, turning controversy into yet another business opportunity. Sydney Sweeney is an American actress, and though she began acting in 2009, she became famous for her role as Cassie Howard in HBO's Euphoria. Some of her more recent films include Anyone But You, Immaculate, and Madam Web. She is also starring in a currently untitled Christy Martin film set to release in November 2025. And of course, because she is a woman in Hollywood, she is constantly either hypersexualized, slut-shamed, or called ugly. No matter what projects Sydney takes up, there is always a discussion on her body alongside it. Britain's The Spectre hailed the Anyone But You star as the comeback of the giggling blonde with an amazing rack, a creature shamed to the brink of extinction. As though there's a bunker somewhere where they've all been sheltering, waiting for evil feminists to stop talking so much about the male gaze and body neutrality. The idea that many men viewed Sydney as an object with a pair of tits became extremely evident when Euphoria started gaining popularity. As stated by the New York Post, quote, the star has faced criticism and over-sexualization for acting in nude scenes for her hit HBO show while embodying the character of Cassie Howard. Screenshots of her nude scenes from the show have since circulated online by online trolls, some of whom tagged her family in the photos. When speaking with The Independent, she shared, quote, "I'm very proud of my work in Euphoria. I thought it was a great performance, but no one talks about it because I got naked. I do The White Lotus, and all of a sudden, critics are paying attention. People are loving me. They're going, oh my god, what's she doing next? I was like, did you not see that in Euphoria? Did you not see that in The Handmaid's Tale?" So Sydney is a clear example of someone who is constantly objectified against her will. People view her as the dumb, blonde, beautiful bimbo, ignoring her acting skills and her intelligence. She was valedictorian in her high school class with a 4.0 GPA. She was in robotics, speaks multiple languages, and is a trained mixed martial artist. Some of her fans have advocated against the obsession with her body, while others are fans because of her body. Throughout her career, she has been a part of many different marketing campaigns and has collaborated with numerous brands like Frankie's Bikinis, Hey Dude Shoes, and Bye. Most recently, her collaboration with Dr. Squatch has sparked controversy online. Dr. Squatch released a limited edition men's soap called Sydney's Bathwater Bliss, bars of soap containing her own bathwater. Though they originally sold 5,000 bars for $8 each, resellers quickly sold out the soaps everywhere, and they're now going for over $1,000 on some sites. Once again, this marketing move feels very confusing, especially when fans noted that Sydney has opened up about the struggles of being objectified before. So why would she objectify herself? Isn't this the opposite of what she wants? Similar to the discourse surrounding Sabrina Carpenter's new album, people claim that this move is her capitalizing on the persona people have created. In a USA article titled, quote, "The internet has a wild obsession with Sydney Sweeney's body, so she got in on the joke," it shares a statement from Shiara Tarrant. Quote, "Our culture polices women's sexuality, profits off it at the same time, and shames them for profiting from it themselves, especially when it comes to young, beautiful, talented stars like Sydney Sweeney." This is where, in my opinion, discourse surrounding objectification gets pretty complex. Because if someone is being objectified and will never be able to stop people from doing so, why wouldn't they want to profit off of it themselves? If they're going to be objectified, they might as well be paid for it. And this mindset tends to be very popular in spaces that support OnlyFans and sex work. Which leads me to my next topic, Bonnie Blue. Bonnie Blue is an English pornographic film actress. Notoriously known for sleeping with 18 to 19-year-old men as well as married men, she has many controversies. She began her work as a webcam model before launching her OnlyFans page. Something that Bonnie would do is post her location online and allow any men, particularly young college-aged men in Australia and in the UK, to have sex with her for free. She also appeared on many different podcasts, often making misogynistic or objectifying claims about other women. In 2025, she claimed that she had sex with over 1,000 men in the span of 12 hours while trying to break a world record. She also announced that she would be attempting to have sex with 2,000 men by hosting a petting zoo event where she would be tied up inside of a glass box. And because of this, the OnlyFans platform actually banned her for policy violations. Despite the backlash, she constantly defends her actions and her career choices. When met with criticism for filming herself sleeping with 18-year-old men, she responded, quote, "We've got no problem sending 18-year-olds to war." She also stated that instead of complaining about it, the UK government should just increase the age of consent.
The best things about my job is showing people the videos and the aftermath of what I've created. But wouldn't it be so much better if I brought barely legal girls to watch it and they can see it in person? Well, that's what I'm doing this Sunday. They're going to watch it with their own eyes.
We could spend forever talking about the ethics of what she's suggested in that video, but then this video would be hours longer than it already is. What she posted is an example of the type of person she showcases herself as, using very intentional language such as barely legal. She wants that shock value. And when people make videos about it, garnering that attention. Unfortunately, we are doing exactly what she wants us to do, regardless of whether or not we're praising or criticizing her. In an article by The Week, it states, quote, "People think sex workers have no brains and they've got daddy issues and they've got no family or some sort of trauma that's happened to them as a kid. And that's not the case," she shared. "You can do this job because you enjoy it, because it's $1 million business." She also said in a recent YouTube interview that her family supports her actions, saying, quote, "You think I'm joking. My family is so proud of what I do." Victoria Smith shared, "This is all grim, because once you've stripped every last trace of pleasure from sex, what you're selling is barely even porn. You're just selling misogyny and dehumanization." But one angle seems to be completely ignored, said Olivia Petter in The Independent. What about the men? The men in queue to have sex with Blue were buying into the idea of guaranteed sex with a young woman alongside several other men, treating her like some sort of strange commodity. Some of the queuing men are very young and potentially indoctrinated by manosphere influencers like Andrew Tate, said Glamour. But that doesn't mean they shouldn't be held accountable. Although OnlyFans is often touted as an empowering platform for women to earn huge amounts of money, contrary to historic power dynamics in porn, young women are reporting degrading requests, abusive and predatory treatment, as well as doxing and so-called revenge porn and stalking.
I am hungry. I have been hungry.
Because of the way it's promoted, OnlyFans seems most appealing to those in the age group of Piper Raquel, a 17-year-old social media influencer.
Y'all think I could be in the Bop House now? Like I'm already here and like I look like you guys. Like
For context, the Bop House is a content creation house primarily for OnlyFans creators. Popular content and OnlyFans creator Ariel Kista shared a video in response to the way that promoting sex work has become incredibly normalized.
You do not need to be a bop right when you turn 18. Try something else first, you know? You have lots of other options. I tried hair school, music school, art school. I went to college for 4 years. Yes, indeed. Try something else first, because once you're a bop, you probably won't have the chance to try everything that you wanted to try. I feel like bops need to stop pushing on younger people that this is a great job for you.
Objectification, including self-objectification, is extremely damaging to mental health, causing anxiety, eating, and depressive disorders. As stated by NYU, quote, "Self-objectification is even found in women who view sexual objectification as harmless or even complementary. Research has linked self-objectification to mental health outcomes such as depression, disordered eating, and reduced productivity." Furthermore, if our society continues to culturally normalize objectification, every young girl and woman is at risk of mental and physical repercussions. Additionally, men and young boys will think that objectifying women is normal, further continuing a cycle of sexual abuse. I want to revisit the main idea. We are victims of the lie that self-objectification is a tool of female empowerment, and the people who exploit that lie often contribute to romanticizing inherently misogynistic beliefs and values. As previously mentioned, if someone is being objectified and will never be able to prevent people from doing so, why wouldn't they want to profit off of it themselves? Even if women choose to profit off of objectification, they never cease to be its victims, which is why I don't believe in shaming women who are a part of the porn industry, or sex workers, or those on OnlyFans. However, I don't believe that supporting someone who advocates for young women to join the industry is ethical. Once they begin to glorify and promote sex work, they become a part of the problem. Now, don't get me wrong, they're still victims themselves. However, once they willingly promote creating porn or selling your body, that ultimately crosses a line. Now, this does not apply to those being abused with the control techniques often seen in human trafficking, where victims are forced to recruit other people against their will. This is solely referring to people who willingly promote a lifestyle that is ultimately extremely damaging to young girls and women everywhere. Now, this isn't meant to shame women or take any blame off men, because at the end of the day, who's keeping those industries alive? The vast majority of the target audience is men. So, slut shaming statements such as women need to respect themselves, they need to be modest, etc., do more harm than good. It takes all the responsibility off men and puts all the blame on women, as if it isn't the man disrespecting the woman. You cannot shame a woman for creating OnlyFans content whilst ignoring the fact that that content likely exists because of men or for men. Likewise, quote, it is important to remember that though men are the main perpetrators of the sexual objectification of women, they are also exposed to it and experience it. Sexual objectification awareness initiatives should not only be directed at girls and women, but at boys and men, parents and teachers, as stated by NYU. Sex work isn't the feminist, self empowering industry people claim it is. Women are often abused or exploited. But feminism also isn't at risk of collapsing from the decisions made by celebrity women, and we should not be putting them on a pedestal and giving them that power to do so. Feminism is the freedom of choice and self expression, and that is beautiful. But to promote and glamorize an industry that comes at a detrimental cost to women everywhere is simply not the purpose of feminism. We should provide support for people in the industry because the likeliness of them being victims themselves is very high, but we should not be supporting the porn industry itself. And in case I wasn't clear about it before, it is never okay to slut shame, degrade, or think less of people in that industry. There are no female sex workers who are not victims to misogyny themselves. Whether it be physically manifested or simply internalized, misogyny plays a crucial role in keeping the porn industry alive. But that doesn't sound appealing to women, does it? And what would the porn industry be without women? Therefore, that ugly truth must be repackaged with a pretty pink bow. Sex work is now empowering. You're reclaiming an industry meant to hurt women. Isn't that the rule of feminism? But the truth is, when you believe that the porn industry is empowering because sex work is empowering, you're unavoidably believing that exploitation, pedophilia, and abuse is also empowering. We cannot live with the lie that sex work is always done on a woman's own terms. We cannot live with the lie that sex work is a woman utilizing and reclaiming a system initially meant to degrade her, because ultimately that mindset will do more harm than good. Does that excuse any negative actions done by adult film actresses? No, absolutely not. But the general understanding should be that not everyone in the industry has willingly joined. As stated by Engage magazine, quote, a former porn actress testified to CBN saying, women are lured in, coerced, and forced to do the sex acts they never agreed to do. They are given drugs and alcohol to help them get through the hardcore scenes. The porn industry is modern day slavery. There is, of course, an argument. Some women do go willingly. They find themselves lured in with the promise of big bucks and promising careers. However, these women face manipulation, no financial gain, and even rape. Porn producers shift their gaze to the financially vulnerable and further exploit them. Former actress Teresa says, it's so expensive. Rent, nails, makeup, flights, and 10% from my manager. I only made $25,000 in 4 months. After I got out, I had $2,000 in my bank account. That being said, many women also face fear and anxiety in the industry. Producers say one thing, then use force or manipulation to coerce them to do something different. At this point, women aren't given the option to say no and are subjected to rape or violence that is displayed for the world to see. Objectification cannot be reclaimed because it inherently supports the misogynistic belief that women are objects solely for the purpose of sex. When it comes to people like Sabrina Carpenter or Sweeney, they tend to have a more passive, subconscious role in promoting self-objectification, whereas someone like Bonnie Blue is completely actively glamorizing self-objectification. And I'm sure the main question is, where am I going with all of this? What is the point? At the end of the day, it really depends on how deeply you think of each action. If you think about the subconscious implications of Sabrina Carpenter's new album cover image, of course you are going to feel upset about the ways it can affect how young girls see themselves. If you think about how low-key nasty it is that men want a woman's bathwater and then see that that behavior is being rewarded, of course you're going to feel some sense of anger towards Sydney Sweeney's choice. Once again, Bonnie Blue is excluded from that context because no matter how you look at it, whether deeply or on the surface level, her actions, the things that she says, and the behaviors that she promotes are incredibly damaging for all women. She chooses to glorify an industry that harms women even when they aren't a part of it themselves. And honestly, my heart breaks for the audience that she's captured, the mindset that she's rewarded, because ultimately we will see consequences in our society from it. Women will be trapped in a lie that selling themselves is fulfilling and rewarding, subconsciously seeing themselves as less than human beings who deserve dignity, opportunity, and respect. Additionally, men will assume that it is okay to treat women like commodities, like sex objects to be bought and sold. It genuinely angers me to know that people promote OnlyFans, porn, and sex work as a fun job, when on the other side of the world, women and children are doing the exact same thing, except they're being forced and manipulated to. Instead of being welcomed by millions of dollars and fans, they are instead subject to violence every single day. As women, we are more than what a man views us as, and we must not let ourselves be trapped in the lie that pleasing a man before pleasing ourselves is more fulfilling or important. And I guess that's why I partially wanted to make this video. And maybe I'm taking things too seriously or reading in between the lines too much, especially when it comes to people like Sydney or Sabrina. But when someone is in the public eye, their actions do have much bigger consequences because of the influence they hold, especially if they captivate an audience of young, impressionable minds. Now, I'm not saying that it's their responsibility to be family friendly. Absolutely not. But we as consumers just can't ignore the consequences. In the description, I have listed out some resources that you can check out if you're wanting to read more about how harmful the porn industry is, as well as some studies about how objectification affects women. I can already guess that this video is probably incredibly long, so if you've stayed till the end, I really, really, really appreciate you listening to everything I had to say. I have been very bored lately and very tired of doom scrolling, and I just needed something else to work on. So this video is my little creative outlet per se. Once again, I want to thank you so much for listening.